Most notably, the review of state officers' remuneration is aimed at promoting the constitutional spirit of competitive, transparent, and sustainable remuneration that will lead to good governance, address corruption, and misuse of benefits and allowances as far as remuneration is concerned.
Let's now speak to our senior reporter, Rita Tinina, who is covering that for us. Rita, good afternoon. The scrapping off of sitting allowances seems to be the biggest in this particular pay review.
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Akisa, but most certainly not a very good afternoon or not a very good time for especially members of parliament. As you say, they are the most affected by this new structure released by the SRC, of course, affecting from the president, the deputy president, members of parliament, members of the Senate, governors, commanders of the various forces, the Air Force, the Navy, the Kenya Army, the Inspector General of Police, but the MPs most affected. The president is one of those who have received the highest pay cut at 206,000 shillings, but the leader of minority, the leader of majority as well in the National Assembly, in the Senate, also have received a huge pay cut, 255,000 shillings. But this afternoon, one person who is very unpopular with MPs will be Serem. MPs have been receiving huge allowances, some of which have been abolished. Like the car allowance has been abolished. This used to account for about 2 billion shillings annually. And so now car allowance has been scrapped. There is the issue of mileage. MPs, Serem, saying that some of them used to claim up to 2 million shillings every week. Every Friday, members of parliament would claim, fill in forms to claim what they termed as mileage allowances. So now Serem says no claims at all. Everything will be in their payroll. And what the commission has done is to zone the constituencies depending on where they are. Of course, a member of parliament in Nairobi will not receive the same amount of money in mileage as a member of parliament in Mandera or Wajir or Lamu. And just to paint a picture of how that worked, for instance, let's talk about Wajir, Eldas MP, who is a chairman. He was a chairman of the Public Investments Committee, a member of the Parliamentary Service Commission, a member of the Defense Committee, also a member of Parliament. So in that, that is Adan Kainan I'm talking about. So as a chairman of the Public Investments Committee, that's 10,000 shillings per sitting. As a member of the Parliamentary Service Commission, 40,000 shillings. As a member of the Defense Committee, 5,000 shillings per sitting. As a member of Parliament, 5,000 for a sitting in the plenary session. And as well, he would claim the mileage allowance. So all that has been, the mileage allowance has been scrapped. Of course, they will get the sitting allowance in the committees, but in the plenary session, Serem saying you have been elected, your job is to debate in parliament, so you cannot be paid and separately then paid an allowance to sit in plenary in parliament. So the plenary allowance has been scrapped. Also what Serem terms as special allowances, the car allowance that I've been talking about. And in total, according to Serem, this new pay cut will save the country 8.8 billion shillings annually. Just a rundown of what that means. It means that the car grants the MPs have been getting 2 billion shillings annually is no more. The sitting allowance for MCAs used to account for 2 billion shillings as well annually. That will be no more according to the new revised structure. There is the mileage allowance. The saving on that will be 1.2 billion shillings. Taking you back to that issue of the mileage, what the SRC has done in that zoning, Zone A, which is the list that a member of parliament and in the Senate as well can travel, is 375 kilometers, one-way trip. If it's a return trip, a maximum of 750 kilometers, and that leader can claim 266,000 shillings. Not claim as such, but that will be in the payroll. So whether you travel more than that, whether you travel less than that, that amount is fixed in the payroll. The highest amount in mileage will be paid at 738,000 shillings, and this is for those who will be traveling 751 kilometers one way and a further 750 kilometers coming back, so about 1,000 500 kilometers in total. So,
right.
Akisa, I have lost you on that connection, but really not some good news for members of parliament especially. And this issue of salaries will most definitely form their first battle when they come, when they are elected and when they join parliament after the August general election.
All right, Rita, thank you. Rita, thank you very much for that total breakdown of this new pay cut for state officers. And as she says, members of parliament are the biggest losers. Now, moving on, pathologists will today conduct a post-mortem on the body of the late Cabinet Secretary Joseph Olenkaiseri in a bid to determine the cause of his sudden death on Friday night. The post-mortem is being conducted following the arrival of one of the late minister's sons from the U.S. Detectives are piecing every bit of evidence to unravel the mysterious death. The government has so far